Okay, so how many of you out there are fans of Cats in Underpants or Dogman? So many of you, right? Well, this book is written and illustrated by Dave Pilkey, the guy who brings you those cool books. This book was first read to me many, many moons ago when I was in, I think, seventh grade. I had a teacher named Mrs. Renee Pfister at St. Michael's School in Loretto. She's now principal there. So if any of you guys watching go to St. Mike's, Mrs. Pfister first read me this book and introduced it to me. And I loved it so much that when I became a teacher, I made sure I bought it to read to my own students. I hope you enjoy Dog Breath, The Horrible Trouble with Hally Tosis. And what's funny here is that halitosis is the actual medical name for stinky bad breath. And this dog's name is Hally Tosis. And if you look at the picture, his breath is coming out green and it's wilting, killing the flowers. So you could probably guess the conflict, the problem in this story, right? There once was a dog named Hally who lived with the Tosis family. Hally Tosis was a very good dog, but she had a big problem. See everyone pinching their noses? Hally Tosis had a horrible breath. Whenever Hally Tosis opened her mouth, horrible things happened. Her breath is peeling up wallpaper, killing the fish, making all the leaves droop, and even the Mona Lisa's holding her nose. When the children took Hally Tosis for a walk, everyone else walked on the other side of the street. Even skunks avoided Hally Tosis. But the real trouble started one day when Grandma Tosis stopped by for a cup of tea. And Hally jumped up to say hello. So here's Grandma Tosis coming. And there's Hally Tosis jumping up like excited dogs do sometimes. Mr. and Mrs. Tosis were not amused. Something has to be done about that smelly dog, they said. Look, Grandma fainted. Her chair fell over. Her legs are up in the air. So now even Mr. and Mrs. Tosis are upset. The only ones who want to rescue poor Hally are the young daughter and son. The next day, Mr. and Mrs. Tosis decided to find a new home for Hally. Free dog, free to a good home. The children knew that the only way they could save their dog was to get rid of her bad breath. So they took Hally Tosis to the top of a mountain. It had a breathtaking view. If you hear of a breathtaking view, something goes, and it takes your breath away because it's so beautiful. And they were hoping that such a great view would take away her bad breath. So there's the for sale sign, and here's them climbing up to the breathtaking view. And if you look very closely, you can see a wanted poster. It says wanted for burglary. And that's not an accident. That'll come up in a little bit. They hoped that the breathtaking view would take Hally's breath away. But it didn't. Even the sun is plugging his nose. Next, the children took Hally Tosis to a very exciting movie. They hoped that all the excitement would leave Hally breathless. And the funny name of the movie is Breath of a Salesman, starring Perry O'Donnell and gingivitis. Those are all terms having to do with your teeth. Oh, but it didn't work. Finally, the children took Hally Tosis to a carnival. They hoped that Hally would lose her breath on the speedy roller coaster. Oh no. They shouldn't have sat in the front seat. All those poor people behind them in the roller coaster. But that idea stunk too. The plans to change Hally's bad breath had failed. Now only a miracle could save Hally Tosis. Sadly, the three friends said goodnight, unaware that a miracle was just on the horizon. And when people say just on the horizon, it means just about to come. but Dave Pilkey's funny and he used a double meaning. The horizon is also where the sun sets, out on the horizon. And what do you think? All right, ready? Later that night, when everyone was sound asleep, 2 sneaky burglars crept into the Tosis house. The 2 burglars were tiptoeing through the dark rooms when suddenly they came upon Hally Tosis. "Yikes," whispered one burglar. "It's a big, mean, scary dog." "Ah, don't be silly," whispered the other burglar. "That's just a cute little fuzzy puppy." The 2 burglars giggled at the sight of such a friendly little dog. "Oh, that dog couldn't hurt a fly," whispered one burglar. "Come here, Boochie Boochie," whispered the other. So Hally Tosis came over, and he gave the burglars a nice, big kiss. The next morning, the Tosis family awoke to find 2 burglars passed out cold on their living room floor. It was a miracle. Who saved the day? The Tosis family got a big reward for turning in the crooks, and soon Hally Tosis was the most famous crime-fighting dog in the country. I guess until Dogman came out. Here's all the headlines. They're pretty funny. He has a badge that says Hero. The headlines say, "Bad Breath Bungles Burglary. Hero Hound Halts Hoodlums. Rancid Respirations Restrain Robbers. Mutant Space Dog Captures Evil Elvis Clones. Panting Pooch Paralyzes Prowlers." In the end, Mr. and Mrs. Tosis changed their minds about finding a new home for Hally. They decided to keep their wonderful watchdog after all. And their sign says, "This home protected by dog breath." Because life without Hally Tosis just wouldn't make any sense. And they used sense here. It's a homophone. Like it wouldn't make any sense. But here they spelled it like a smell, a scent. Good book, right? Thank you, Mrs. Pfister, for so many years ago introducing me to this book. If any of you see Mrs. Pfister around town in Loretto, make sure you say, "You know Katie Sutton? She's a grown-up teacher now, and she read me the funniest book." See ya.